So jumping right in here, what the F is GTM Alpha? That's probably what a bunch of people are asking themselves right now. And Roland, I wanted to jump on and help you guys, figure this out. So, you don't have to read the whole blog post. But what is it? For people that don't know this whole alpha beta thing. So we are currently, this alpha thing is being used in, in finance bro world. So we are now in Patagonia West land, right? Kind of that's how you need to think about it. And alpha basically is the difference, the delta, to kind of stay in the Greek alphabet here, between what the expected, the normal market return is. So let's just say you have like an S&P 500 or something like this, and they make 3% a year, something like that, right? Kind of that's that's everyone can get that, versus what your stock is doing or your portfolio is doing. So if you have a stock that's, I don't know, did 10% last year, or your portfolio did 8% last year or something like that, the difference between those two numbers, 3 and 10, that's your alpha. You're basically out-competing the normal expected result, basically, right? And instead of using that for your finance bro conversation, this is now being used for a tech bro conversation. And basically said like, hey, the difference between what you're doing and what your competitors are doing, that's called GTM Alpha. There you go. Now you know it. What do we think about this? Is this another BS term, Raul, or what is this?
It's not BS. And it certainly is not what a couple people also thought as well, which is the kind of the go-to-market alpha male, which is the leader of the go-to-market team. It would be the GTM Alpha. Yeah. I found actually when I researched this, I found a funny meme about that. Yeah. But no, it's a thing, and but it's kind of a new name for the idea of just outcompete your competition, right? So yeah, okay, boring, but there is an interesting aspect to it, which is one proponent right now that is really making this quite big is Clay, obviously. Maybe this is how you found out about this as well, is from kind of like a Clay post or something like this. And they wrote a paper where they kind of outlined how their idea of GTM Alpha looks like. And there is maybe two actually unique ideas there, or at least a little bit more unique. And I think those have some legs. Right, so they have an idea of how to actually do it, especially for the first idea. And this is where maybe you can actually go there and be like, okay, that's what I'll do with it in a concrete fashion right now. So number one is we use and we look for unique data, because data is the accelerant and the competitive advantage that we can have nowadays. And they give a couple of examples, obviously being a data platform, very much up their alley, but I do agree that those can be good ideas, and it's actually a good idea to think about what unique data you need to look. And the data that they name is typically kind of like market signal or customer signal data. Like we work with this and this customer who is selling to bodegas, and they found a way to find sommeliers who did this and this education in France, right? Mm-hmm. Which is kind of quite a sophisticated case, but they said this is actually easier than you think nowadays. And funnily enough, I was in a train yesterday. I actually tried this with some AI tooling around yesterday. And I made some really niche requests, like, hey, give me people who have this kind of funding, who have this and that, and then added like a couple more things on top. And it actually found me some. So this is kind of doable. And the idea here is to really be innovative, but not for the sake of innovation itself, but for finding niches that are even better of a fit for you, and better of an ICP for you than maybe what you had before. Now you're not just looking for German enterprises, but you're looking for companies that have A, B, C, D, E, which is super, super, super tailored to your product offering.
Yes. So let me give you an example from the real world. And, Clay wasn't involved in that case, but a company I was CRO at, we were selling social media management software. And one thing we could do, we could hook up directly into the, back then it was called Twitter API. And we could, for our customers, scan, their handles and see if someone published on those handles from a different app, right? Which for us would be like, oh, that's not good. That's a competitor right there. Kind of, that's not a good thing. So, if it was a customer of ours already, kind of that would be a signal going to the customer success team, to the account management team, like, hey, watch out. They're testing someone else. We need to do something about it. And then for, people that were in pipeline, we kind of figured out whom else we were kind of competing against. That's that's kind of an intelligent signal, right? And basically what Clay is trying to do here with this approach is like, hey, there's a bunch of different signals out there in the world. And if you're just really smart, maybe you can find something that's really impactful for you. You couldn't find it previously because of, I don't know, there was no AI or there was no Clay. I'm not sure kind of what was the limiter before. Now you have it. Now you can do something about it, right? I think when we discussed this, Raul, the issue a little bit with the paper and with this whole approach is like, sure, it's Clay centered, but to a degree, okay, cool. I have now new data, but like, does that automatically equate to GTM Alpha, meaning kind of outcompeting a competition? It's like, and we don't really see the connection, right? I mean, kind of, it basically kind of stops pretty short of actually generating revenue. What this thing then would be about, right? Kind of how do you see that?
Okay, going away from the paper, because the paper in itself does not go into very much detail about how to actually use this data, and you and me, we both believe that is what makes the difference here. So you can generate maybe some alpha from kind of unique data, but that's obviously, in addition to kind of finding the right data and all that, I think this is really where the execution comes into place. So sure, you found signals based on perfect timing for the perfect customer group, which previously maybe wasn't possible. What now? Do you go out and just call them? Like, that doesn't seem like the most appealing way to some extent, depending on your niche. It could be a great way, but there could be that there has to be much more than that. And who says that you have to even stop at just cold acquisition? It could be even existing customers that you can work with in that way, because you find data about them. You can reduce and prevent churn. You can not just find better customers in itself. And the paper, by the way, which is not the end all be all, but the paper, by the way, focused a lot on kind of finding the right fit customer based on certain criteria. I think a lot of value can also be gained from timing, from finding them at the right time, with the right person and with the right messaging on the right platform. So there's a lot more than just who am I talking to, which company, but it's also when am I talking to them, what kind of communication tool am I using, do I write them, do I kind of invite them to an event, whatever, which person in that company am I talking to, and with which message. And I think for all these, this is where really the gold lies in the execution. They don't go too much into detail about that, but I think this is really the job that's to be done then by you. This is where the work is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, not to be cynical, there's one company that comes to mind that executed this extremely well. Our dear friends over at Deal. They basically acquired GTM Alpha by putting one of their employees into their competitor's company, paid that employee $6,000 a month, and then had that employee send them back information wherever, Deal was in a competitive situation with that. Rippling in this case, that competitor. Isn't that GTM Alpha right there, Raul? I mean, it sounds like it to me, right? Because it's a very, very special kind of information that they were able to acquire, and they were able to execute on it, right? Kind of defending their base, maybe kind of winning some new deals. So to a degree, I feel, maybe Deal has been riding the wave on this.
Yeah. Let's see how sustainable that alpha is, or if it will turn into GTM beta in jail, where you kind of have to be everyone's beta. But that's a different thing, right? To be honest, on the Deal thing, it might just be that whoever lands in jail or doesn't, we'll see what happens there. They might actually have gotten so big so fast that even the downsides from all that downfall that's going to happen was still worth it. So in that case, successful application of GTM Alpha for sure.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's a cool new way to say these things, but it is also the oldest thing, on the planet, right? Kind of, you just need to be better than your competitors. You need to kind of find some way of getting that advantage. And, that's what that kind of says.
And at the end of the day, it gets you to click. It gets you to click on this podcast, which is your mistake, but we'll use it against you to make you to listen to it.
Absolutely. So that was kind of our news for this week. Check us out on obviously YouTube and then Spotify for the longer form podcast. Thanks a bunch and cheers.
Bye-bye.